What's up guys, Daniel here. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how you can create a main menu in Godot. So let's look at a quick demo. As you can see here, this is the main menu for my game and it's pretty simple, nothing too fancy. We got our UI with the buttons and all of that, and we have a little blinking animation with an elevator. So I'm going to be showing you how I've done this, how you can combine 3D scenes with 2D scenes to create these cool main menus. And also let me just show you, I also have this, I actually probably have to change this layout. I don't know what you think about it, but this might be a little bit too up. But I think I know the issue for this. Okay, now it looks a little bit better. Let me just show you also, I have a little animation. I'll also show you how you can do this. It goes into the elevator, and as you see, when I press new game, it starts the game, and it plays a little cutscene. I also made a video about how you can make a cutscene in Godot. So if you're interested, I'll leave a link in the description how you can make something like this. I made a video about it. So yeah, that's about it. Let me just leave the game. I gotta leave from here. At one time, I just Alt F4 from the game, and OBS and both Godot just crashed. So let's play it safe and let's just quit from here. And before we get into the video, just a quick shout out, and I promise you we'll get into the code. If you're interested about the game I'm making, it's called The Final Shift. It's out on Steam. Well, it's not out yet, but you can wishlist it. In this game, it's a horror game, and you play as a janitor in a building which has some weird history, and it unravels as you go along the floors, and there's a plot twist at the end, and also some secret endings. So, getting back to the video. Let's see, how can you make something like this? Let's see how this looks from like a front, well, not front view, from a bird's eye view, as you can say it like that. So we have our 3D scene and our control scene, or the 2D UI scene. And we can combine these by creating a node 3D as a parent node, importing our 3D scene, or you can just put everything here. You don't have to make a separate scene if you don't want to, although I like it like this organized. And by using a canvas layer, you can also add your 2D UI scene. And what this canvas layer does, it's just a layer that is like put on the screen. So everywhere you move, that screen is there. Right now we won't be moving, but it's good to have it like right in front of the 3D scene. So let's look at the control scene first, and then we look at the 3D scene. If we go over here, let me just show you. You can see that, it's pretty simple, nothing fancy. What we have here is a margin container. What this margin container does, it keeps like a margin a margin around the elements. So I probably could have used another container, but I use a margin container. It basically keeps like a margin here. Then inside it we have a VBox container. This puts the element below each other in a vertical containment. If you have dealt with, for example, any kind of like mobile development, web development, you're probably familiar with these. Now, I have put everything here inside the VBox container. In the first version, I had the title outside here. But for some reason, when I switched from full screen to windowed, it kind of shifted around, so I just moved it here. Now it looks better. There's probably a more elegant solution for this, but this is how I done it. Then we have some our buttons, the new game, continue game, and so on, settings, all of these. And all of these are connected to a script. The way you can connect these is by going to the node, signals, and connecting the press. So you double click on the press and select the script that you want to connect it to. And going on, let's look at the script. Let's look at what happens when we click on the button. Well, first of all, in the ready function, I check if continue game should be visible. I load the save file. It's not here, it's in the main script, so the loading of the save file happens here. But that's specific to my game. It might be completely different in your game. Getting back to the code, I'll just check if the floor index is not 0 or not 1, then the player can continue the game. Here I just set a flag in a global script. I just set if are we in the main menu or not. When we press on the new game or on the continue game, I call a signal. So I send out, I emit a signal. I'll tell you in a little bit why I've done it this way. Basically, I handle the click button events in the 3D script. I'll show you in a while why. Then on the quit, I just call another notification. The reason I do this, you can also just write here get3 dot quit. This would also work just fine. The reason I've done this is that I might want in the future to do something before we quit. So if we look at the main script, we have here a notification handler. Whenever a notification is sent, we check if this is a closed request. And here right now I just quit, but I'm not sure if I want to maybe do some kind of saving in the future, so I've set it up this way initially. So maybe, you know, here I want to, you know, save some state or something like that and then quit. You can just do a simple quit or do it like this, however you want to. Going back, this is basically it for the button setup. What else is interesting here? I also have this little tween, where a little fade effect, which I do with this color rectangle. So basically this covers the whole screen. Let me just show you. Right now it's alpha value, so how transparent is it? It's set to 0, and I just do a little effect like this with a tween. So you can do these effects with a tween. For example, with this, you create a tween, and it will move it will smoothly move the alpha value of this from this value to this value. All right, going on. Let's look at the 3D scene. I think this is it. Another interesting thing. Let me just explain these anchors. You know how you can position this wherever you want. I recommend using anchors. You can also use position, but these are absolute positions. And what anchors are, they are a relative position. So they will be spaced relative to the screen resolution. So no matter what kind of resolution the player has, this kind of you know, the logo, whatever you put out, the buttons will be there, no matter the resolution. And I'm just open Paint to show you. So if our screen is this white canvas here, we have our margin container over here with the title, the buttons and everything. And what these anchors are, they set a relative position for where they should be. So for example, if we look over here, we have a left of 0.5. So what this means is that from the left, it will be about halfway in the screen. Let me just show you. If, for example, I change this, you can see that that shifts around. And this is a relative size, so it won't be dependent on the screen resolution. Well, actually, it will depend on the screen resolution, so it will be, for example, 50% in the middle, something like that. And other values are like this also. So, for example, from the bottom, so it will go to the bottom 80%. And this is how this works. I'm not sure exactly how these are calculated, but you can play around with these values. And the other ones are like this too, so how much it should go to the right, how much it should go from the top, and things like that. And by setting these values, you can set a relative position so that you won't have these absolute positions. And no matter the screen resolution, your UI will look great. Going on to the 3D scene. What we have here is what you saw exactly in the intro. So we have a camera set up here that is looking at the elevator. So as you can see right over here, this is exactly what we saw in the main menu. Let's look at some other elements that we have here. We have a world environment. Here I just set up the environment to be just completely black, so the background is just a black color. I also set some volumetric fog, so you might have been able to observe that when the light was blinking, there was like this little fog effect. This is how I achieved this, with a volumetric fog effect. Going on, I have a canvas layer for a fading effect. I think I only use one of the fadings actually, so I probably have to remove the fade effect from the UI. I think this is the one that I'm using actually. Going on, I have these phantom cameras. These are for the transitions. I'll tell you about them in a bit. And I have some lights, you know, just a basic setup. This will probably change if you want. I mean, it will probably change because your game is going to be different. You might want to add maybe some kind of character, maybe some kind of interaction with the character, you know, when the player clicks on the character, it blinks, or I don't know, something like that. With this animation player, this is how I've animated the blinking. So as you can see, I just set the Omni light, and another thing, it has some reflections, this roof light, that's why I also toggle this one. But I just toggle it on and off, and this way, let me just show you, as you can see, it goes on and off with this animation player. Okay, and some other interesting things. Here I have the music, so whenever, let me just show you in the code, when we enter the scene, so when the ready function is called, everything is good, then I play the music. And just as a quick tip, if you want your music to loop, so not end when it's over, you can come over here, select your audio, go to import, and here you have to select loop mode and go either with forward, ping pong. So forward is just basic looping, ping pong will go from the end, and then when the audio reaches the end, it will go backwards, so it will play backwards. And that's how you make your audio to be able to loop. Alright, so let's look at the code. Here I just import some of the nodes. In the ready function, I connect the signals. I'll talk a little bit about what this is. Let me just drink some coffee. Alright. Going on, I told you that here is where I wrote the logic for what should happen when the button is clicked. And the reason I did this is because I wanted to do this transition when we click the button. And the camera is in the 3D scene and the buttons are in the 2D scene, so I had to synchronize them in some sort of way, so I use signals for that. So let me just show you. In the UI, I have this signals.main button pressed. And what this signals is, this is just a global script, a singleton, you can also think of it like that. So this is a global script, and what this means is that from every script within the game, every script or every node has access to these signals. So no matter what, for example, I have this floor change when we go to another level. And I might want to do a bunch of things when I go to another level. I might want to do something in this script, I might want to do something in that node. So by creating a global signal, I can send it from one place and listen to it from everywhere basically. So this makes things a lot easier to handle. Alright, going on with the 3D script, let me just go back. So I'm just thinking, should I explain the transition first or what's going on here? Well, I'm just going to explain the logic here first of all. So here we have the on button pressed. I connected this in the ready function. So I connect the signal to this function. So when the signal is fired, this function will get called. I pass a parameter, so I check which button was pressed. Was it the new game? I use a enum here, which basically just connects a number to a name, so I can better understand it, because if I didn't use a enum here, I would have to write, for example, if it's the 0th, if it's the first. It's much more readable. The code is much more readable if you use enums. Going on, I start a transition. I'll explain a little bit how this transition works. I toggle a fade animation. I wait until the transition is done. And here, for example, if you press the new game, I clear the save data. I set the input mouse mode to be captured. What this means is that, for example, here you can see my mouse. If we set the mode to captured, you won't be able to see the mouse. It will be stuck in the middle like this. It won't be visible. You know, like in FPS games, you don't see your mouse. And that's basically it. And then I load the scene, that you know, that outside scene with the cut scene and everything. So this is basically it. Let's look at how this transition is implemented. As I told you, what I've used here is a phantom camera. This is a very nice add-on. I highly recommend you to check this out. This is a great add-on, phantom camera. You can get it here. And it just makes transitions with cameras and handling different cameras, multiple cameras, much more easier. And I also made a video about phantom cameras. You can check that out if you want to. How this works is that these camera system, they have this kind of priority system. And what this means is that, for example, I have two cameras here. And the one with the higher priority will be the active camera. So for example, this camera here, let me show you this camera, which just looks at the elevator. Since it has a higher priority, as you can see here, it has let's not change that. Since it has a priority of 2, that will be the active camera. The transition camera has a priority of 1, so it won't be the active camera. As you can see, if I switch the priority, if I set it to 0, then the transition camera will have a higher priority, and that will become the active camera. And when we switch from one camera to the other, we can set some kind of transition effect. So if I press enter, you can see it does this transition. If I set it back, it moves back. And here you can set on the camera that you go to is what kind of transition you want. So for example, I set here, well, you have a whole bunch of transitions. You can play around with these. I set the back transition and with ease in and out. So with this, it does this little nice effect. So if I set a higher priority, when you look down there, you see this bouncing effect happens. All right, and that's basically it for the transitions. I won't go into too much detail about how these phantom cameras work. I made a whole video about it, but for the setup, you need to have a camera 3D, and as a child of the camera 3D, a phantom camera host, and that's basically it. And to wait for this transition, you can get the transition camera node. Of course, we change the priority, so this will be the active one, and then we wait for the transition to happen. And you can do this by waiting on the tween completed signal. And that's basically it for how you can create a UI where you, or a main menu where you combine 3D scenes with a UI, a control scene. So yeah, that's about it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I'll happily answer if you have any questions. And yet again, let me just shout out my game. It's on Steam. You can check it out. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all of that. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.